Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Core Energy Experience. I'm your host, Kurt Bruckmann. I hold my mastery in core energy dynamics. I am a certified global coach. I have written for Brains magazine as a senior contributor, which reaches out to 65 plus different countries around the world. I am also an internationally acclaimed best-selling author in an anthology, Ready, Connect, Grow. I am here with my partner, associate director and co-producer, Alex Fabio. Our guest today is Chris Smith. He is owner of Val's Tavern restaurant located in Rumson, New Jersey, Monmouth County. He is councilman in Little Silver and a former commodities trader in NYMEX. If you're enjoying the podcast today, please, it would help us if you hit like, subscribe, or comment. That would be very helpful for us, and we appreciate your time and energy very much. Now, here's a conversation with Chris Smith. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Kurt.
If you would please tell us a bit about yourself so the audience can get a background of who you are, where you've been, where you might be going, and then we're just going to continue our conversation.
All right, Kurt. Sounds good. I mean, former Wall Street guy. I know you from our time back on the Commodities Exchange way back when. I was a NYMEX member. That all changed 2007, 2008 when our markets went electronic and we were sort of forced out of the business. Since then, became the owner of a restaurant in a town next to mine called Val's Tavern in Rumson, New Jersey. My brother James and I have owned that for the past 15 years. Raised a family in Little Silver, 4 kids, my wife Linda and I. Pretty active in the town of Little Silver. I was a Board of Ed member for 13 years, been a councilman for the past 6+ years, done some real estate development on the side, some good, some bad, and, constantly trying to reinvent.
Yeah, I hear you, huh? It's a process in it all. And, you're talking about some transition there, obviously. So let's go with it a little bit, Chris. Let's go back to the floor a bit. And if you could just explain to the audience what type of energy you experienced up there and how that was for you.
I mean, the NYMEX, the floor of the NYMEX was a kind of a wild place. We always tell people if you ever saw the movie Trading Places with Eddie Murphy, that's kind of gives you the feeling of the energy there. But it was, crowded, 800 plus members, surrounded in 3 or 4 pits, and everybody kind of pushing and yelling and screaming to get business done. It was a very unique way to do transactions, and we all loved it. It was fast. It was physical. It was it kind of was really second to second, and great. It was great energy. I mean, always great energy. Always walked out. Being a former athlete, I was an athlete in college, and before that, you always had that feeling walking off the floor at the end of the day like you just played a game. So it was definitely a lot of energy. Nothing I've done since then kind of compares to that.
Yeah, you and me both, that's for sure. So, interesting that being an athlete had a lot to do for me, and I want to hear your perspective on that too, as how you operated with and mitigated and managed that energy on the floor. So if you could step back into your time of being an athlete and describe that to the audience, that would be helpful as well, and then your transition into the pits.
Yeah, I think that there's a natural competitiveness that you had as a college athlete, and then maybe couple that with, certain disciplines that you would have. I mean, I think you had to take discipline with you on the floor because the stakes were so high. If you were a person who kind of lost your edge or lost your nerve, it could get bad pretty quickly from a financial standpoint. So you had to sort of keep cool under pressure, kind of maintain your discipline. You're always competing. If one guy's making money on a trade, the other guy's losing money on a trade. So all of that, I kind of felt pretty well prepared for being, kind of coming from the background that I had. And I think that I probably enjoyed it a lot because I had that background, kind of played right into it.
Absolutely. So, part of the core energy, there's 4 concentrations that we work with, and you have all 4 of these. In fact, all people do, but you a little more pronounced, as you're pointing out to. And it's leadership, well-being, performance, and transition, right? And so you just covered a few of those right then and there. Obviously, the leader in you, being a football player, as I know that is, right? Tremendous there, and all the skills you learned as performing for yourself, and then as part of the performance, and then to collaborate with teammates, right? Not easy. And I get the understanding of how it is being an athlete, and get in that fashion and appreciate the performance, leadership, and the well-being. We have to keep ourselves healthy and fit in every sort of way that is as an athlete. And the part of the overall is the transition, which you've done. So that's why I bring that up, and that you're such a perfect example for how all that is and how you can do the best that you have. And you're very well respected in the commodity pits. I believe a lot of it was because you are all of what you just spoke about. Being a team player, you need to do that in the commodity pits, just like as an athlete. Very important. Performance was, very high, and we profess that in everything we do. We perform 100%. We give 100%. You know all this, and even though it might not show up as 100%, we're giving 100%, and that's really important. And certainly in the floor of the business as well. And then, of course, mitigating all the action, all the noise that's around us. It's a big part of our core energy and how we do that, and what do we do? How do we do away with the noise and the stress? So let's touch that real quick, Chris. How were you able to perform at such a high level in the pits and be one of the top traders up there? How did you put yourself in a position where you could do away with the noise and the stress and become a good performer that you were?
Well, Kurt, I mean, I wouldn't say I was one of the best performers in the pit. There were certainly many guys that were better than me, but I do think that the ability to operate and maintain focus while in a chaotic situation, and that's really, if you brought people onto the floor and they weren't familiar with the surroundings and the atmosphere of the floor, it was just hundreds of men and women yelling and screaming at the top of their lungs, and yet business took place. So I think your ability to stay focused, to stay centered, and to not get too high or too low, because obviously emotions play a big part in trading. I mean, last couple of days in the stock market, you can sit at the bar in my restaurant and people are complaining about the markets and this and that, and they're going down, they're going up, and we had that hundreds of times a day in very visceral levels. So your ability to stay focused and concentrate, I think that kind of ties to the discipline piece of it. I just think that's a skill that you acquire, and the ability to focus out noise and just listen to what's essential, and try to communicate properly. And I guess that's where the teamwork part comes in. Kind of just, you have to figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, so true. So a couple of things that I want to touch on. So you mentioned the energy, being real high and then it can dip. So we talk about energy in two types of forms: anabolic, that's that filling form; the constructive form, the building format, the dopamine fill, if you will, right? And then on the other side of it, the opposite is the catabolic, and that's the draining, destructive. There's no building in there. You're sort of very low line energy, and that's a cortisol dump. So as a trader, and being able to work through that is very, very interesting, because it happens so fast. To your point, well taken there. But that goes on in daily life. And now I'd like to, having said that, and sort of wrapped it up a little bit in a package for the viewers, I'd like to go from your transition from the pits and having all that noise around you. And I sort of put it this way when I described it, but it's like, imagine we're in a hurricane, right? And the hurricane's got all this noise, this massive, massive noise going around. And how do you work with that? Well, in the middle of the hurricane is what you and I all know is the eye, and that's the calm. That's what you were pointing to there. And that's important to do in everything we do in life, no matter what business we're in, no matter how we operate ourselves on a daily basis, is to allow those let those outside influencers stay at bay, put them at bay. And that, therefore, we go back to the core again, back to how we operate as within ourselves, so we can deliver the best we can to the world as it is. Anyway, so I appreciate that analysis that you put out there for us. So let's move along a bit, Chris. When did you leave the floor? Because let's inform the audience why that happened and how that was for you when things developed where we were pushed off the floor, reasons why that was, and what you were.
We were all in a pretty similar situation, and there was advances in electronic market making at the time that we were on the floor. We were doing something that was called open outcry, where physical traders would send bids and offers out vocally and trade with people in the ring, and then eventually they figured out how to put it on put it on the computers, and I think it happened so suddenly. I remember a friend telling me that he goes, when the change happens, he goes, it happens overnight, and it almost felt that way. It felt like where 100% of the business that was being done was in the pits, and then we had overnight electronic trading markets, and then all of a sudden they extended those markets into our market time, and almost immediately 80 to 90% of the business that would normally take place in the pits went immediately to the computers, and it just changed the essence of what we did. And we went from being a very busy, bustling pit to, kind of a bunch of guys standing around looking at each other, waiting for an occasional order to come in the pit. So the change happens. It happens really quickly. And it really just fundamentally changed the nature of our business.
Absolutely. It's interesting because for us, it wasn't as if we were bankers or we were involved in an institution where we could go from one bank to another because it was closing for some reason. That was it. Commodities being one of the largest businesses in the world, perhaps the largest business in the world, right? They attacked us immediately, and you're right, it happened almost overnight, pretty much to your point. And, that was a big change because we had nowhere to go. What do we do now? So we're talking about purpose and things. Explain to the audience how you handled that and what you did in your timeline to eventually find your way into Val's.
Yeah, I think, when I first stopped working on the floor, I was home for a while trying to figure out the next step. I did a lot of research on different things. I was looking I was interested in being in business for myself in some form or fashion. So I started looking at franchise businesses and different things. There wasn't like a natural flow into like another corporate job because what we did was so unique. We were market makers in a pit, and essentially those pits didn't exist anymore, and all that trading had gone online. And we were market makers. We didn't have the relationships with the businesses that were putting orders in. So it was really you had to go and reinvent. And my father had owned a pub when I was a youngster growing up, so I had some idea of the bar business, and it kind of led me towards local restaurants and pubs in the area. And after about a year of looking, I bought one in Rumson, New Jersey. I took a partner, my brother, and we bought a place in Rumson that had been in existence since 1942. So we bought it in 2009. We didn't create a new business, but we took a business that was existing and then tried to put our touches on it.
And what a fabulous job you did, if I might add. I've been here in the area. Yes, absolutely. I've been here in the area all my life, so I did know the Chambroni family, whom you purchased it from, I believe. And to your point, they had been in it from the beginning. So you're really the second owner, is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. There was one family before us that had it for, the better part of 70 years. And then James and I have had it for the last 15.
Wow. What a gutsy thing to do, Chris. First of all, when we came off the floor, a lot of us, and I guess most of us, sort of were looking for a purpose again. What the hell are we going to do now? And you described it so well. We didn't have much room to go anything else. And, you tapped into yourself and decided to go ahead and take the leap, take that what we call conscious choice, right? Take that risk that you've already been exposed to in your past, not just on the floor, but as an athlete, and then growing up a bit around the bar restaurant business. Of course, sort of a part of you, but it's not anything until you do it, right? So for you to go ahead and have done that, and particularly from which I found really inspiring and empowering, Chris, is how you guys switched it from basically an Italian family style into your new format. So can you explain that to the audience, what you guys and your kitchen delivers and how it's set up now?
Yeah. So yeah, we took a restaurant that was kind of an Italian style place. We didn't make many changes when we came in. We tried to get to know the people and the staff that we had, and we soft played it a little bit and took some time to learn. But believe it or not, just an aside, I think we kind of won the town over during Hurricane Sandy. If you remember when that happened, I guess that was 2011. It was probably our second year of ownership, and our whole town was destroyed. But I was very fortunate to be able to come up with a large generator from upstate New York through a friend of mine, and we were able to get our building up and running like a day after everything had shut down. So we never missed a beat. We stayed open for the town. Didn't make any money. I mean, we were spending so much money on the generator but it was a service to the town for us to stay open and to have a place for the community to gather. It was late October, so it was cold out and it got dark early. But we had televisions. We served pizza. We kind of slimmed our menu down a bit, and we were packed all day. And I think we still had to close early because there were some issues going on where they didn't want people out at night. But I think we were essential to the town during a time of need, and I think that people came to really appreciate James and I for doing that, and that was kind of our entree into it. Even though we had been owners for a year and a half prior to that, I think that kind of won the town for us. So then we started to make the changes that we wanted to see made. We made it a little bit more pub style, American pub style, which was more our background and our tastes. And then we had done a renovation immediately upon coming in, and then eventually we did a major renovation during COVID in 2020 when we were forced to be shut down. I had plans in place to renovate the restaurant, and we made the decision to do that, and we kind of gave it a top-down, kind of a gut renovation. So that was a big project for us, and it's been great. And we've served the town now for 15 years. Very proud of that, and we're a part of a lot of people's lives, and we, in a small way, we change people's lives every night in a positive way when we do our job right. So that's exciting.
100% on all of that, and I'm taking a little liberty here. Change equals awareness plus understanding, which is part of what you decided to do here. It just wasn't fly by night. You had chose conscious choice about it. And taking that risk is really, really interesting. And you have brought a community that's not easy to have buy into things around here, as you well know. But in particular, the peninsula can be filled with, a little bit of judgment. But that's part of life.
They don't want to see change, and they get mad when something gets changed. But yeah, we definitely had to overcome that.
Really gutsy, and again, this is part of who you are, your core. And this is what we know we focus on a lot of the times here. And, fear is a reaction. Courage is a decision. And you have put away fear. You know how to manage fear. Fear is just something that, we all believe we're so focused on that fear is going to be really disruptive, it's going to hurt us in ways. Well, no, fear is actually our friend because it's telling us something's coming. It's going to happen. So instead of, taking that attitude, oh my God, what am I going to do, and harbor it, we take it through the awareness and the acceptance of it. And then we validate it, and then we move on for opportunity, right? And therefore, we create that conscious choice, which is what you've done. And you so profoundly have put it, it wasn't so easy to break into a community and do that, i.e. turning the business from an Italian family-based cuisine into more of an American-based, and all the TVs, and understanding that. And I know that your family has been quite involved in local sports, your children, your family active, as well as your brother and your nieces and nephews. So there's been a big part of that you brought in. You focused in on something that was really captured the community. And that was to collaborate and become part of the community, not the other way around. Not to have the community say, okay, we're going to have to buy into what the Smith brothers have brought us now, a different attitude. And you did that in a way that was so special that became endearing. And we all enjoy being there. It's sort of that place like Cheers, for people that may or may not know the TV show.
Let's hope I still know it.
Yeah, it was a bar, and it was a bar in Boston. That was sort of the play there, and it was a place where everyone could go. It doesn't matter who you are, gender, sex, race. None of that matters. Just like Val's, none of that matters. You go in there and you feel at home. You're probably going to see someone you know. Or if not, you're going to be introduced to people that are similar energy. And that's because of what the energy that you guys have brought in there. And it's been really, really, really great to have you. And I want to applaud that.
That's very kind of you. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's it. I think you have to have a presence in the bar. I think James and I both have. I think it was very natural for us because we both had young families that were kind of growing up and involved in sports, and really right at the end of the day, that's what everybody's trying to do, right? Everybody's a lot of people are raising their family and trying to have fun in between, and they're going to games and practices and dealing with the ups and the downs of everything. But it's nice to have a place that you can kind of come to and celebrate those victories or those, the tough days of practice. And we definitely set the place up for that. That's what we wanted to see. That's what we want. That's what we liked. So we thought that would do well in the town. And I think we're right. Going back to what you were talking about with overcoming fear. I think aside from the initial jump in of owning a restaurant and now you have a payroll and you have all those things, once we overcame that, I think the other issue on the side of fear was COVID, because I think that a lot of small business owners couldn't really see the future there for a while, right? Because the businesses were closed. It was a worldwide illness, and we didn't really know how everybody was going to come out of it. We didn't know if the businesses were still going to be able to operate the way they had previously. Nobody really knew anything, and we made a decision that I do think took some courage to go and kind of double down and do a gut renovation there and really spend a lot of money when we weren't making any money and we were closed and we didn't really know what the future was going to hold. So I do think there was some fear that we had to overcome there. We talked about it a lot, and I thought it was, we made a decision, and I think in retrospect it worked out really well for us, because we never would have had an opportunity like that where the restaurant was closed anyway. It was time to start tearing boards out and breaking things down and rebuilding it. So, kind of made a very unfortunate situation work as best as it could. And so I look back on that with gratitude.
Absolutely. And we're all thankful for it too, Chris. Again, the community needed a place to go together to collect themselves through the storm of Sandy. And the attitude of the COVID was very difficult as well. You guys were still active then. And, it's this ability that you were able to go from something very important, and you're going to know this right away. You probably experienced it in your athletic career as well. And that's we go from the me to the we to the us. And that's what I've seen in the transformation of Val's. I've seen it in the transition that you've been put through, and how it's transformed into the Val's with the Smith brothers as owners. And it's been really inspiring. What do you attribute your resilience and your ability to keep thriving and to move forward and take that risk? How is that for you, so the audience can get a real good idea what Chris Smith's about?
That's a good question. I don't feel like there's still risk now. I feel like the risk was the decision to get where we are, and then there's challenges every day. But I do think, I don't think I'm done evolving either. I think that there's other chapters for me. So I think there's going to be other situations where I'm required to fight through fear and take some risk and do some things. So, I still think there's things that are ahead of me that I'm going to have to face. I think for Val's, for James and I think it more goes to finding components of yourself that make you happy, that make you feel like you're contributing. You were talking about leadership. Like, I'm a very big believer in servant leadership, and I feel like by serving customers, I think there's some nobility in that. I think that by making people feel comfortable, or make them feel welcome, or make them feel important, you can change someone's night or week, or whatever. Maybe they're coming in and they're having a difficult time, but you can kind of create a space for them that they can enjoy themselves and enjoy a meal and be around friends. So I enjoy that. That definitely makes me feel satisfied. So I think if you can align something up that sort of fits the personality profile that you have, I think that kind of makes it a little easier to achieve, quote unquote success, whatever that is. I mean, we're not getting rich in the restaurant business, but there is a certain satisfaction to making people feel good, and having a space that they want to enter, and they want to come in, and they want to, be fed and see friends and enjoy themselves. And there's definitely satisfaction in that for us.
Tremendous to hear that, Chris, because a couple of things came out of that. One is the fact everyone's got value, and you've recognized that. And I'm sure not just in Val's, but it's what you brought to Val's from your history and all your experiences. And with that being said, value is an important part. And in today's society, things are moving so fast, and the younger generations and all generations actually are trying to find their value. And no one should be discounted, right? Everyone has something to say. Everyone has value. And, it's something I took away from my studies when I was getting my mastery in this core energy dynamics. And that is, everyone we meet is our teacher and our student too, So you guys, that's part of the hominess that you bring in. Doesn't matter who walks through that front door. Everyone is going to be able to give value, be able to speak their mind within their right. And that's a very safe place to be. So also, the servants, how profound is that? In this life, we're here to serve and to bring the best we can. Hopefully leave this life in a better format than when we were in it. And that means being able to serve for others. And that's a big thing. And I think more and more the younger generations are realizing that. They're realizing that, servants is part of our life, and it should be in everyday life. To your point, you are happy that way. You have gratitude there. And that's a tremendous asset. That's very empowering, Chris. And I think that's another thing that people feel when they come in and out of Val's. That's why you have repeat customers constantly. I go in there on and off, as you know, different hours of the day, night, and see similar people also repeating. Not the same, but the same type of people. And everyone's happy. It's such a great atmosphere. So I do want to thank you for that, Chris. It's very, very important. And let's move on to, you're filled with so much goodness, Chris. A really beautiful thing. Let's move on to also what you do for the community outside of Val's. Please explain to the audience what you do there so they can really get the idea of Chris Smith.
Yeah. My wife and I, we've been so fortunate. We moved to Little Silver about a month before our oldest son Liam was born, so we've lived in the same town for 27 years now. Always tried to be active in town. I was a big youth football coach and baseball coach when the kids were young. Coached a little basketball as well. So you're always very kid oriented. But then as the kids started to grow up, became a little bit more involved. It was kind of a natural step to get involved with the schools. I mean, 3/4 of our tax dollars goes to paying for the local schools that we have. So got on the school board and tried to get involved there and make sure that the money was being spent in the right way. The kids were getting educated the way that we want them to be educated. That sort of evolved into the borough council. I was asked to be on borough council 6+ years ago, and it's really just another extension of that, which is, we love the town we live in. Little Silver is a great town. We've raised our family here. We owe so much to it. I certainly want to see that it's run properly. I want to see that the tax dollars are being spent properly, and that, we leave the town in a way so that when our kids are old enough to own homes and hopefully they want to live in this town, that it's still going to be the same place that we grew up in, the same culture and the same feel. And we know everything evolves, so it's really about managing how the town grows and doing it in a way that kind of keeps the flavor of the town for the next generation.
Always working for the next generation you are. I mean, that's part of your beauty, I mean, that's that servants and putting yourself out there and not taking fear in of what you might say may be disruptive or not, because your goal is to help people in every way. Having said that, Chris,
it's a little different though, being on the council, which is that, I think you have to recognize that you're not always going to please everybody in this situation, right? So it's not in the restaurant. I want every customer to be satisfied. I want every customer to be happy. In the town side, you have to recognize that there's political factions and other things. And I feel like we serve everybody, but you're never going to have everybody patting you on the back, telling you a great job. So you have to develop a little bit of a thick skin for that. And you have to be able to look in the mirror and know that you're doing the right thing, and know that you're working with a group of people that are all properly aligned for the good of the town. And there's some ups and downs with that, but it's still gratifying. It's still worthwhile.
Yeah, well, fabulous, because you've also been delivering wonderful things there for the people in town now in the boroughs currently, but also leaving behind, to your point, what is going to be for others to enjoy, how they're going to enjoy Little Silver. And being a spokesman on the council like you are is, to your point, we understand not easy. We don't know how difficult it is until we're in that position. Certainly that's, part of your understanding. And, not really a surprise that from having met you on the floor and seeing your ability to be as highly professional as you were, treating everyone with kindness and respect as best as you could in an atmosphere that can be quite vicious and violent, and then transitioning into into Val's Tavern and finding your peace there and helping the community in a different way, to your point, than you do on the council. So, Chris, what do you feel for the community is in the best interest overall of living here in the peninsula? Meaning, in other words, in the growth of the community from the younger generations, what do you suggest so the viewers can get an understanding of where you might be headed with your mindset and thought?
Well, I think the towns that we live in, the immediate ones that are here, Fairhaven, Rumson, Little Silver, Shrewsbury, they're all great towns to raise families in, right? They all have great school districts. The parents are all very similar in that we all want the best for our kids. Everybody's doing, kind of similar things. We're all trying to hope that our kids do well in school and get involved in different activities. And then we just have this beautiful place where we live close to a beach and we live between a couple of rivers, and there's just so much to enjoy here. So you want to see that be available for our children. And I think that, like a lot of places around here, they've been discovered now. They're becoming very expensive to live in. There's a very heavy tax burden to live here. So I just think managing through that process and trying to make it so that the kids can afford to buy homes when, like you and I did 25, 30 years ago when we came here. And it makes me nervous that, you have to do so well now to be a first-time homeowner. And I think that, when we were maybe able to do it at 26 or 27, the kids now maybe have to be 35, 36 before they can do it. So, that's where I can help as much as we can on a council level to try to just make sure that the town is still affordable for people who want to move in for young families to be able to experience the same things that we had when we were able to move here.
Yeah, absolutely. In agreement with all that. And thank goodness that we have people like you tapping into that and being in a leadership position that you can bring all that guidance and opportunity to the community. And really, really special, Chris. Really is really so interesting to hear your perspective on how the community acts, how do you interact with the community, and what might be coming up for the younger generations. As we talk about that, Chris, the world has changed a lot. You and I grew up in the analog world, experiencing 2000 YK. We're always going to go dark, remember, into the computer stage, and we've been through that. And then, of course, the pandemic shifted our energy groups, all people, and people started becoming more introspective. Perhaps, it was difficult for most people, but people have seemed to come around. I'd like to hear your take because you've operated so much in all that you discussed, from the floor to the ownership of Val's beautiful place, and to what you're contributing to the community in your councilship there. If you could elaborate that on a little bit more, we'd appreciate it.
I think that as I look, at my children and the next generation of kids, I see, obviously social media has such a big role in everybody's lives now, right? And you see so many kids that are on their phones, and it looks like they're talking to their friends and they're seeing people and doing things, but really it's a very isolating experience, right? It's not what you and I grew up with, right? You and I grew up, if we hung out after work and we went to a bar and had a beer, we're all looking at each other, talking to each other. We're all sitting down, having a meal together. We're all talking. Now you see kids sitting at a table and they're all eating together, but meanwhile they're all on their phones and they're not really, they're talking to somebody, but they're not really actually communicating. So, I think that's one of the things I'm nervous about for the next generation, and that I would like to see. I would like to see some change back to what you and I grew up knowing, because I think it's more fulfilling. One of the things that I love about the restaurant is that I can go and just I can sit at the bar and have a club soda and talk to people and just have conversations and listen to people. I think that it's a very interesting world, because we live in a time where whatever walk of life you come from, whether you're the guy who puts the roof on or cleans the sidewalk, or the guy who lives in the mansion or does. Everybody on the outside seems fine, but when you listen to them and you talk to them for a while, everybody's got issues and everybody's got things and everybody would love the ability to talk to someone and just have them hear them and maybe empathize a little bit. And I think that's lost a little bit with what's going on these days. So, trying to be present and trying to actually, really have interactions with people, I think is something I want to see for the younger generation get back to a little bit more and be a little less reliant on the technology that they seem to be so dependent on, that frankly we're all dependent on.
Yeah, absolutely. And follow you through all that. Boy, you couldn't be a better guest to have on here, Chris, with the Core Energy experience, because you're tapping into so many things that are part of what we need to understand in ourselves. And, the form of communications you touched on there. The largest form of communication is listening. It runs 70+%. The other form of communications are much less. And to be a good listener is a tremendous thing to do. We learn to grow, about listening to other people's experiences. And we like to say in the Core Energy dynamics that experiences are neither good nor bad. Experiences are just simply growth, and that's how it is. And we're in a continuum of growth, to your point, which you've been pointing out today. And we have a few more minutes here, Chris, before we sign off to the audience. But just want to go back and mention that how thankful we are to have people like you to be in leadership roles and to take that on with kindness and respect, and to perform to the best of the ability that you can. And you see outcomes for people that want to be around it more and more, and are appreciative of that. And you point out well-being, that take care of ourselves but also listen to others and take care of them as well. That's really, again, back to the servants part of who you are, and that we are in constant flux. You know, we go through transitions on a daily basis, and it's all good because time's our friend. It constantly changes, so we move from one moment to another moment in different forms. But if we remain true to our core, we're able to perform to the best of our ability and to give it out there to the world. So, Chris, before we sign off, please, if you will, tell us something that you would like to see for all people in all the world. What would be your biggest push for that? And I'm just going to leave that open to you.
For all the world, I think to find reasons to do what you said, to listen to each other a little bit. I think the world has become very polarized, and I think that the edges sort of control the narrative, and I think the majority of us are somewhere in the middle. So I think I'd like to see. I guess I'm sounding like an old guy, but I'd kind of like to see how it was a little bit before, where your political differences wouldn't just make you not choose a person as a friend or not choose a person as someone you would want to have a discussion with. And I think open dialogue a little bit and kind of go back to listening and be willing to understand that there's more than one way to live and have beliefs and accept it a little bit more.
Fantastic.
That's what I like to say.
Absolutely. Well, Chris, you've been a very special guest, and we myself and Alex and the all the listeners out there and the viewers, certainly got a lot out of it today. And thank you for being so raw, for being authentic, and for serving the way you do the community. I've been a big part of the community for many years, and you have really helped the community grow in a very substantial way, and you continue to do that. So we certainly want to thank you. Again, you've been a fabulous guest. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Chris, is there any way you would like the audience to reach out or be able to find you? Do you have a website or something for Val's, or however that is for you?
valstavern.com. They can reach us there. Come visit the restaurant. I'm available. I'm available through the town website as a council person. Happy to talk to anybody. But yeah, just reach out.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate that. So everyone, you've heard it. Our very special guest, Chris Smith. So happy and fortunate to have him with us today. We had a lot of takeaways. I hope you all enjoyed it. Please, whatever platform you're on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, we are on all those platforms. Get on there, hit the like and comment button, subscribe. We'd appreciate all that. We're on a weekly basis. And for you all, stay empowered.